Everyone, it's Hazel West, and I'm here with my August reading wrap up. So for August, I actually ended up getting to, I think, 8 books. So it was actually a lot better than what I expected because I actually had to do the final edits and read through for my own book that was coming out at the end of the month. So it was a very busy month, but I actually read more than I expected to, and I also read some really good books as well. So I am not upset with what I read. The first book I picked up actually is The Thief by Megan Wallen Turner. This is the first book in the, I think it's the Atolia series. Um, but yes, this was the buddy read I had with my friend Mara this month. And this is, I have not read this series before, but now that she has finally released the fifth and I think final book in the series, um, I I really wanted to start picking these up. And overall, I really enjoyed it. I really like Jen as a character. Um, I really love the world building. Um, the In fact, the world building was actually my favorite part of this book. I kind of felt like the storyline itself was really dull in this one because literally nothing happens until like the last quarter of the book. But yeah, I mean, like, I know that it gets better. I've been told that it gets more, interesting later. But I did really like the world. It just took me a little bit to get through because it was kind of, it just, nothing was going on. And it was just a lot of, like, Lord of the Rings grade traveling. Um, but, yes. Besides that, though, I did enjoy it, and one of the things I really liked about the, what she did in here with the world building is that there's like interludes with like mythology, folklore stories of the world, and I think that is like such a cool way to introduce like the mythology of um, a fantasy world. Like, write it as like stories, because I adore mythology anyway. So when people do it like in that context, like, it just makes it even better in my opinion. Overall, I gave this one like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Um, it's just because I wasn't engaged really until the end. But I'm really looking forward to picking up the rest of the series, and I have a feeling I'm going to like them a lot more. After that, I picked up the season 5 companion of Supernatural by Nicholas Knight. These are just like the same ones I've been reading the last few months. This is just the one for season 5, and it is just as good as the others. I always love seeing like the behind the scenes stuff and the actors' comments and everything, and it's just really fun. Plus, this was like I really enjoyed, particularly with the season 5 one, like seeing like what Eric Kripke had to say about like the end of the story arc that he had originally created. So it was because this was like the end of his actual story arc that he had pictured from the beginning. So that was kind of fun, and I obviously 5 out of 5 stars. Just, I still enjoy these. After that, I picked up Nemesis by Brendan Reichs. This one caught my eye when it came out, just because it sounded like really interesting. Like, I don't usually read a lot of sci-fi, but this one sounded, it just sounded weird and like something I just really wanted to try out. So I picked this one up, and I actually okay, so I really did enjoy it in a lot of ways, but I kind of had like some issues with it as well. First of all, though, I really will say that I did really like the characters, and I think the girl character Min, I really liked her because she didn't have an attitude, and um, she was very, like, she knew what she wanted. Like, she was trying to figure out what was going on, and she would do pretty much anything in order to do that. And I really liked how she took the initiative. And I also really liked Noah, who was the other point of view character. And I'm going to apologize because it's like we're having a huge thunderstorm right now, so I don't know why I always end up getting time to film like when it's thundering outside, but if you hear anything, that's that. Anyway, but Noah was also a really nice character. I liked him because he was very sweet, and but yet he also like overcame like his anxiety issues in order to help figure out the problem. But anyway, this is a very hard book to describe. Um, and I don't know how much I really want to say because like even the synopsis is very vague because um there's I don't know, I really don't want to say too much, but essentially what is going on is like two main plot lines here. First of all is like Min and Noah both have like since like their 8th birthday or something, every like 2 years on their birthday, um they are killed by this like assassin dude, and then they wake up like hours later and like randomly in the woods, and like not like completely fine, nothing happened. um so that was one plot line, and the other plot line is that like this asteroid is supposed to hit the earth, and so everyone is like really freaking out about it and blah blah blah. And like so it's kind of like that. Now I liked the way this book built suspense. Like it was just it really kept me reading. Like it may look like a thick book, but it's actually a really quick read because you're like you just really need to know what is going on. um the only complaint I have is that I really did not like the ending. Like I've thought about it a lot because initially I was just like, okay, that was weird. But thinking about it more and more, like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And I know this is the first book in a series, so maybe, like, the next one. Well, even, like, the thing is, though, is, like, it's the kind of thing that even if there's another book, like, it's really not going to explain it. It just went in a completely different direction than what I thought. Like, in fact, like, the opposite direction. Which I like to a degree, but at the same time, it made no sense to me. So I think overall, like, even though I really, like, the reading of this book was actually very entertaining, I think overall I'm gonna have to give it like a 3 or 3.5 out of 5 stars because I just, I don't know, the ending was just, it was so confusing and it didn't make sense to me. Like I said, I'm not usually like a sci-fi person. Maybe it would make more sense to someone who likes that kind of stuff, but I didn't. The ending was not for me. After that, I picked up The Wish Granter by C.J. Redwine. This is actually the second book in the Ravenspire series by her, but I picked this one up first, actually, because I had it from the library, and I kind of felt more like reading like a Rumpelstiltskin retelling, and instead of her, like a Snow White retelling, which is her other one, at the time. And so, and because these are kind of like companion novels, like I figured it was probably okay. And you know what? I did not feel like I missed anything from the first book when I read this. But anyway, long story short, this book was amazing. I adored this book so much. This is like one of the best retellings I've read. This is one of the best books I've read this year. Um, so I mean, I just adored like the heroine Ari. She was amazing. Like, I just loved her attitude toward things because she was very spunky, she was very upbeat. She had absolutely no attitude. She was just really sweet. She's the kind of person I would love to be friends with. Um, but she was also so brave. Like, even, like, despite all odds. And I loved her relationship with her brother as well because she was just a really good sister, and like seeing them do the whole like, oh, I'll sacrifice for you because you did that for me. I mean, like, just watching them dig themselves into holes, it was just like, but I loved it too because it just showed like their love for each other. And of course, there's also the other character in this who I absolutely love, Sebastian, who was the eventual love interest. And he was just he's one of those characters that you just want to like wrap in a blanket and give him hot chocolate because he really needs it. Like, But what I loved about him was that he like really broke the brooding YA hero stereotype, because he was brooding, but it was in a very natural way. Like, because of what had happened to him in the past, like it was just it made sense, like what that he was like this. And he wasn't like overbearing and lame about it. He was just like a normal person would be going through what he did. Um so but like apart from the like good characters who I absolutely adored, I also really, 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 really loved the baddie in here, who is the Rumpelstiltskin character called Alistair Teague in this. Oh my goodness, like it is very rare that you get villains in YA who are actually evil. Like so many times they're like everyone's always like hyping them up, like, oh, this guy is so bad, but you never actually see him do anything bad. In this book, you see him do so many bad things, and he is genuinely evil. Like, oh my goodness. And he's like really like what I loved about this too is that it really goes into, and it has the feel of like the old Brothers Grimm stories. Like it's very violent and like kind of dark, and it really like pulls a lot from the not only like the stories themselves but the feel of the stories, I always think. Um and so the Rumpelstiltskin character is kind of like a mob boss almost, which I thought was kind of an interesting take on it. Um and So he kind of like just kind of runs the town, and everyone's under his thumb, and you never know like who is actually working for him or who's not. And I just love the peril in this, like the not knowing, like even if the main characters are going to get out of it alive. Just overall, I absolutely adore this book. Her writing style is amazing. Her world building is like awesome. Like I think I found one of my new favorite authors, and I cannot wait to read her other book, and the next one coming out in like next spring, I think. But anyway, so good. 5 out of 5 stars. Definitely one of the best books I read this year. Out of that, I picked up Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. This is one I've actually been looking at for a while, and then a friend of mine actually mentioned it to me kind of like offhand, and I was like, well, that kind of feels like what I want to read right now, so I picked this one up, and I'm really glad I did. It was just really fun. Like, it was just, it's so, I mean, it's very, like, traditional Terry Pratchett. Like, to me, it felt more Terry Pratchett than Neil Gaiman. But, like, just the pure, like, amount of, like, weird stuff that happens, and, like, the very, very, very British humor, it was just really refreshing. Like, I think it was exactly what I needed when I picked this one up, so I'm glad I picked it up when I did. Anyway, so it's kind of like the general idea of this is they're like an angel and a demon get together, or they're friends, and like it's essentially like the apocalypse is gonna happen, and they're like, but do we really want it to happen? It was kind of very like felt very like supernatural to me. Like I could see that happening. But it was just like it was just I don't know. It was just very funny. I really enjoyed how they crafted this story and just threw in a bunch of like random stuff. Typical of Terry Pratchett's writing. But I don't know. It was really entertaining, and I see why everyone seems to like this book so much, because it was just like it was just a really nice story. I don't know. It's like the most chill and hilarious apocalypse ever, but it was just funny. So funny. And I would definitely recommend it to anyone who just wants kind of like a quirky whatever like fantasy story that you don't have to think a lot about, but just like it's a good story to relax and sit down with a cup of coffee or tea, which is pretty much how I read this book, because I kind of was not feeling that great when I read it, so it was a good book for that, just relaxing. So I think I gave that one like 4 out of 5 stars overall, but I was really happy I picked it up. After that, I picked up one of the supernatural novels, the tie-in novels that they write because Hiatus and I've actually picked up several I got from the library and just tried to read them, but so many of them are just so blah. Like they don't even get the characters right, and or they're just like ugh. Um, this one though was actually really good. This is The Unholy Cause by Joe Schriever, and this one was really cool. It actually felt like watching an episode, and he got Sam and Dean right. Cass was a little weird, but a lot of people don't get Cass right anyway because I don't think they really like they're just too stuck on like his weird points and like not on like his actual character. But yeah, this one was cool. It kind of had like it kind of went back to like Civil War history and stuff, so it was really fun and I enjoyed it. It was just like a really nice quick read that I read while I was editing my own book, so I didn't really have to think about anything. But I think overall I give this one 4 out of 5 stars. I did enjoy it quite a bit, and I'm still looking for some other of the series that are actually good because they're all written by different people. So the final book I read this month was The Dire King by William Ritter, the fourth and final book in the Jacoby series. So I love this book. I just want to say that, like, overall, I love this series. I wish he didn't put so much liberal junk in it anymore, seeing as the first 2 books really didn't have any of that. So that made me very mad, and that took a star off. I'm just going to say that. But in other words, this deserves 5 out of 5 stars. But anyway, as far as the conclusion goes to series, like I was actually very happy with this. It went in quite a few different directions than I expected it to. And I wasn't necessarily unhappy about that. It was just kind of, okay, it's going this way now. But overall, I really did enjoy it. It is rather different from the other ones. I mean, obviously, the scale of what they're fighting has gotten bigger, and it's going to be different. So, but I think the whole storyline was handled really good. And I just really like to see where the characters ended up at the end of this story, because I think their character development was handled very well overall. And like, I don't know, I can't really say much because it's the final book and I don't want to give any spoilers away. But I will link a review that my friend Mara did down below because she did a very good and extensive review for this book, and I think you should all go watch that if you want to see a good review for it, because I don't really have time to write one right now. So yes, overall, I did really enjoy it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars because of issues that I had, that had nothing to do with the story itself. But anyway, just a really good conclusion to the story. I am sad to see it go, but, well, I guess it's better that than having it completely fall apart. So anyway, those are the books that I read in August, and let me know what you guys read over the summer and what some of your favorite books were. So I'll see you all later. Bye.